All right, we are live and we are back. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back to the pre-iftar plug with myself, Ummah Now. We have just completed conversation with Mr. Hakeem Palmer, who is the brains behind filmmaking, acting, photography, and it has been an absolutely amazing conversation. I was just telling him I love having studio guests in studio. It's so much fun. I feel like it's more, there's more of a connection really than over a screen, and I love it. So much fun. um, but we have to get right into our next segment. We are a little bit behind in time, so we're going to just speed run this, inshallah, as much as I hate to, because we have so much to talk about. And this segment is called the Ummah Now. This segment is where we unpack what's happening around the world from places like Palestine, Iran, and beyond, and talk about it from a youth perspective. The goal is to create a space where young Muslims can reflect, ask questions, and think about how global events affect our Ummah today. So I've got a bio for our guest today, guys, which I tried to compress, but I don't think that I could. And so I said I'm going to just pull out my phone and read for you guys this absolutely amazing bio that I have received. Today we are joined by Nurulhudah Okwayo. Did I say it right? All right, perfect. Okwayo, who is an emerging practitioner in international relations, specializing in peace, security, and governance with a focus on foresight and youth-driven policy innovation. She currently works as a research officer at the Institute for Security Studies within the African Futures and Innovation Program, where her work explores how strategic forecasting can strengthen Africa's peace, governance, and long-term policy planning. She is currently completing a master's degree, mashallah, in security studies and holds both a BA honors and a BA in international relations, political science, and economics from the University of Pretoria. Beyond her research work, Nurulhudah is deeply committed to youth engagement. She is the co-founder of the International Society of Politics, a global youth-led organization promoting political literacy and civic dialogue among young leaders, and the founder of Hudalet, a creative media company focused on storytelling and digital communication. Passionate about amplifying youth and female voices in policy spaces, Nurulhudah advocates for inclusive leadership and believes that informed, engaged young people are the key to shaping a more just and peaceful global future. And said, wow, what an amazing bio. I am so honored to be in conversation with you. Wow. MashaAllah, Allahumma barak, may Allah bless you and may He continue to use you for your work, because you are exactly what we need. From a youth perspective, from a black girl doing things.
That's the spirit.
And a Muslim perspective, there's so many ways to look at it. And I'm just so honored and glad to have you on today's conversation. When I was looking at everything that was going in the world, I was a bit skeptical on whether I wanted to talk about it on my show, because we are, broadcasting it all day through other shows and stuff like that. But I thought, this is a youth-based show. This show is for the youth. They're not watching the other shows as much as they are watching this one. And I said, we must talk about it. We can't put a blind eye onto everything that's happening around us and how it might affect our futures as well. And I was like, I don't know what to talk to about this. Like, I don't know. And I'm so glad that I was able to come across you. And you are like, what Snurla's foot in the glass slipper kind of fit.
You flatter me.
I must. But no, Jazakallah so much for joining me, and welcome to the show.
I'm honored to be here, really. Shukran for having me.
I have a whole lot of questions for you, so I will get right into it, inshallah. My first one is that for many young people, global politics can feel overwhelming or even confusing. So from your perspective, why is it important for Muslim youth to stay aware of what's happening in the Ummah today?
Umama, first of all, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. I actually really like this question, right? Because my perspective comes from my academic journey. So, like you mentioned, I did my triple undergrad, and I did a triple major in economics, international relations, as well as political sciences, and currently completing my my master's in security studies. Initially, when I first chose this path, I had a lot of people asking me, Huda, are you sure about that? Like,
Mm.
we not even sure what this is about. Is there jobs? Are you going to get
Yes.
paid? And it was just, I didn't take a typical route where people, or my peers rather, did accounting and law and education. And so for them it was a bit of a confusion. I mean, no one really heard of international relations. Like, what the hell is
Yes.
that?
Yes.
And so when I look back at it now, I realize that it's actually very important, a very important decision that I made. Um, because at this current point, I have young people actually reach out to me and actually message me and ask me, um, I want to pursue international relations and political sciences. How do I go about it? And they always want advice, and I'm just like, yeah, clock it,
Yeah.
because like, I mean, when I first started, it was something new, and then now people are all of a sudden really interested in it, and it just shows that the youth are actually becoming aware of what is happening globally. They're becoming aware of their surroundings, and what better way than to actually go into a degree that can give you that opening.
Yes.
And part of the reason why I chose this degree is because I realized that there needs to be Muslims in the space, right? First of all, I'm a Muslim. Secondly, I'm a woman, and so representation for me here really mattered a lot. We really need more Muslims, young women and men within the space, simply because it's a space that shapes narratives. It shapes global dynamics, and so when we have that. When we have these youth, it just opens up a way for them to become more self-aware, right? And basically, this basically links back to your question. Is that it's very important for Muslims to stay aware of what's happening, because if we're looking into it, Islam teaches us that the ummah is like one body, right? And the Prophet ﷺ says that since it's one body, if one part feels pain, the rest of the body feels pain as well, which really cannot have us being disconnected from global affairs and what is happening. Yeah.
I don't think I have anything else to add to that. You gave the most perfect answer. I was laughing about this in the previous segment that my audience always laughs at me because I have only two responses to every. I say 100% or I totally agree. That's what I say every single time without even realizing. But this is why. Because the,
Mm,
the answers that I get are so profound and I 100% agree. Um,
absolutely.
and I think I'm not even going to add more to that. I'm going to move on to the next question because we are here to hear everything that you have to say.
I have a lot to say. I mean, like, I come from an international relations background. We are taught from the beginning to talk.
Yes, yes, and you see the degree is working today. It's
Let it
working.
work.
So my question is, when we look at situations like Palestine or tensions across the Middle East, a
Mhm.
lot of young people feel powerless, and from an Islamic perspective, how do we deal with that feeling of helplessness?
Mhm. I think first and foremost, we need to start by challenging this idea that we're powerless, right? As Muslims, we should never feel powerless because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that, He gave each one of us a voice and a purpose in this life, right?
Mm,
And, sometimes, as much as young people think that, we're really far away from the conflict, we can't, do anything about it. It's the Middle East, it's Sudan, it's Palestine, it's just, far away from home, right?
mm,
But we have something that previous generations didn't have before, right? Um, and just to put it like really simply, is that, sometimes, um, or rather, something as simple as just, putting on the radio when you're in the car, when you're stuck in traffic.
mm.
Before, I used to be very deep on my Ahmed Bukhatir, my Ahmed
Yes.
Bukhatir playlist in the car, contemplating my life and stuff. And I thought about it and I was like, listen here, I mean, I'd rather be listening to news and, reflecting on, what's happening around the world, as as opposed to contemplating about my life. So I need to see what the hell is going on, on the path, and what I can do about it.
Yeah.
Another thing is going home. I go back home, and then you put on the news and you watch TV instead of going straight into your Netflix and your soapies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The other thing is reading. I think we've lost a touch a lot
Yes.
on the reading aspect of things. And the last part, and I think this is what most young people actually connect to, is social media.
Yes.
Social media is right there. A simple scroll. I mean, if you go deep down, you just open, there is no news or post that that will not pass you, that is not breaking. You can
Yes.
scroll as deep as you like about whatever niche that you have, but at the end of the day, you will pass something that is breaking news,
Yes.
right? And so the first step is that we have to educate ourselves. The next is to educate other people, right? And that honestly might look like just basic information, like giving people just the basic information about things, reposting content, educating people, so that they stay informed about what is happening as well. And of course, Islam also emphasizes that you have to make dua, right? And the dua is powerful, and you always have to remember the ummah in your dua. But at the same time, I Islam also encourages that you have to act when you see evil. And so me and my hadiths, I love my hadiths.
I love it. I'm really enjoying this. I am so enjoying this. So keep them coming.
So my hadith, there's a hadith that I absolutely love, and it always just plays in my heart, my mind, sorry. And that is, if one of you sees evil, then you should stop it with your hand. If you can't stop it with your hand, then you should stop it with your tongue. If you can't stop it with your tongue, then you should stop it um with your
I
with
think
your
it's with you.
heart. With
Yes.
your heart,
Yes.
yeah. So for many of us, speaking out and raising awareness, and just refusing to ignore what's happening around the world, is that way of us fulfilling that responsibility. um so instead of allowing ourselves to be consumed by the helplessness that we want to feel, that we
Yes.
want to feel very carefully, we should recognize that we have the tools, right, to
Yes.
to raise our voices. We have the tools to raise awareness. We have the tools to share knowledge, and so forth. And this really can become something that is contributing to positivity, or contributing positively to what is happening.
I think this question and your answer is so profound, really, because I want to, like, I think you said we want to feel helpless. We feel comfortable in not knowing what's
Knowing.
going on, or,
Hmm.
or being comfortable in saying, I'm not educated enough. I
Absolutely.
don't know what to do, and I'm just going
Hmm.
to keep this to the journalists.
Hmm.
That's something that we find is so common, really, which it really should not be.
Absolutely.
Um and this goes almost into the topic of my next question, which is, we have social media, which is such a
Hmm.
powerful tool. Like you've said, that if you don't see the breaking news here, few scrolls down, you
You
will
will see
see.
it.
Somebody will
Literally.
repost it, somebody will post it, someone will add it to their stories or
Hmm.
something. And so you can't run away from what's going on in the world, because you
Hmm.
live in the
In
world.
the world,
And it
literally.
doesn't mean that because you're not in that country, that it doesn't affect you. Because,
Hmm.
as you know, Cupcake likes to involve himself in
Oh, everywhere.
everybody's
We just
social.
know recently he's in Iran and Israel now.
Exactly. So, as South Africans, we most importantly must know what's going on, because Cupcake is going to involve
Involve
us.
himself.
And so, like I've said, this comes into my next question for you,
Yeah.
right? Which is that social media has become the main way for us to learn about what's going on in the world, and just
Hmm.
for us to stay informed. So, do you think platforms like TikTok and Instagram are helping young Muslims
Hmm.
be informed, or is it creating more confusion? Because you'll have someone who's talking about Mufti Menk is not talking on the Iran situation, and then you'll
Hmm.
have someone who's coming and is talking about you can't support Iran at all because of their beliefs. And then
Yeah.
there's so many parts to
Yeah.
this. So what are your thoughts really behind this? Do you think it's a positive thing, or is it leaning more towards harming the ummah?
Hmm. You know, I think we should be very careful about how we understand the use of social media, right?
Yes.
And if I put it, like this, is that social media is a tool. And like any other tool, it can either benefit you or it can harm you, right?
Yes.
So on the one hand, these platforms, they have made it a lot easier for us to actually gain information, right? Instantaneously, right?
Mm.
And young people can obviously stay um, updated with what's happening around the globe, and they can witness things like you know um, rather, let me say, they can witness things uh, just at the touch of they're scrolling or
Yes.
simply, right, in real time, right,
Yes.
that previous generations didn't have the opportunity to do or to reach, and I just want to look at just a brief example. If you're looking back at October 7th, right?
Yes.
Before people get at me, I know that the genocide started in 1948, right?
Yes.
But if we're looking at October 7th, it was a year, or it was that period in time where many people actually became woke and
Yes.
they woke up from the sleep that actually, whatever's happening in Palestine is a genocide. We were
Yes.
quick to call it out a genocide before policymakers actually came out and be like, that's a genocide. You
Mm.
know, um, they suddenly became aware of what is happening, and the reposting and the posting and the information that we all got was, you know, instantaneous. We see things from the Palestinians themselves, and it's that moment that really shaped how powerful social media really was or really is.
Mm.
Um, but at the same time, we need to be very careful about the speed that news spreads. So misinformation in these platforms um, spreads like wildfire, and social media can really push this narrative, and people can decide to debate about it whether it's true or not, and you'll find it weeks, days, months that they
Yes.
actually just going on about it. So we end up forming these opinions about these various topics based on the information that hasn't been properly verified. And so I think the responsibility for us is to um, be well informed,
Yes.
um, and the users need to be well informed about how to use social media, um, what to post on social media, etc. Right? So I would say that in terms of the usage of social media, that what they can absolutely go ahead and stay informed, but they should be also very wary about the information that they spread and how they raise the awareness. Otherwise, it can just become some tool that is going to create confusion.
Exactly, exactly. I think that everything that you have said is exactly the answer I was looking for, because like I said, like you find yourself stuck in between so many different perspectives from what's going on in the world, and not knowing how to take it,
Hmm.
and if what you're consuming is right, or if it's the wrong side of
Hmm.
if you want to say wrong side of history almost, right?
Hmm.
And I think the world that we're living in now has changed so much. If the current situation that's going on with Iran and the Middle East had happened, and we didn't have October 7th happen, it would have been a completely
Completely
different
different
way
story.
that we
Hmm.
that we consumed and that we looked at it. Probably wouldn't even
Absolutely.
pay much attention
To
to it.
it. Hmm.
And now, when we have the backing of everything that's happened since 2023, and how to respond to this, which unfortunately is not good enough.
Hmm.
There's so much more that we can do, but we find ourselves stuck at a point where you can share awareness, you can do whatever you can, but
Hmm.
there's a big orange man who's controlling the
The
world,
world.
and and
Hmm.
and it's really unfortunate, but it just ties back into Islam, and it ties
Absolutely.
back into that Dua can change anything. And even though
Hmm.
he feels as though he is the king of
The
all
king of all.
kings, if you
Yeah.
want to, which astaghfirullah, but that's exactly how he feels.
But we know what happened to the pharaoh, don't
We
we?
know exactly what happened to the pharaoh. um And it makes you sit and ponder almost and think that, we all have plans with our lives. He has a plan with his life and what he's going to
Yeah,
do, but Allah plans. And
absolutely.
we know we will see a free Palestine. We know we will see a liberated world.
Hmm.
And it's just a matter of time to see the great things that are going to happen.
Hmm.
And it's having the tawakkul. I think it's very easy for us to lose that hope.
Hmm.
When all of this is happening in the world, and you think to yourself and you think like, I can't do this. Is too much for me to consume. I'm going to put my phone away. I can't keep looking at what's
Yeah.
happening in the world and things like that. And it's disheartening almost.
Hmm.
But it's about keeping that faith
The
in
tawakkul.
Allah and the
Hmm.
tawakkul that um things will get better. This has to happen. It's all in Allah's plan. It wouldn't have happened if Allah didn't want it to happen.
Absolutely.
And this takes me to one of my last questions. Actually, we are running
Oh
out of time. Which is that I think before I get into my question,
no.
like
Hmm.
right now we are coming closer to the time that the Battle of Badr happened, and I think a lot of
Hmm.
people are taking that and talking about what's happening in the world
Yeah.
right now. And so, historically, the Ummah has faced many trials, as we know,
Hmm.
but they've always found a way to remain resilient.
Hmm.
And what lessons from Islamic history can young Muslims, draw from times like these and use them in today's time?
Hmm. First and foremost, before I start, how many minutes do we have before I ramble?
I've got four, just four.
Oh
Yeah.
God. Okay. So this is actually discussions get me a bit excited because there is just so many stories and so many lessons that we can learn from
Yes.
Islamic history. Um I think I had two in mind, but I'll take one.
Yes.
Right? The first one that I can think about is the one on Salahuddin al-Ayyubi.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So
I love it already. Yes.
so at that time, we know that the Crusaders obviously overtook Jerusalem, and that time the Muslims were now debating. It was 90 years. They took over Jerusalem for 90 years, and people started questioning, like, what is happening? Like, would the Muslims really get Jerusalem back?
Mm.
And so Salahuddin al-Ayyubi was very strategic about things. He first, looked at the people and he's like, okay, we need to be united. And so he spent many years ensuring that there's unity amongst the people, ensuring that there's unity amongst Muslims. Then the second thing he looked at was strengthening institutions,
Yes.
right? And then the third thing was that he started preparing strategically. So instead of just going straight into war, he was like, no, let's do this properly, right? So when we see the way he did this, we look at not only the victory that he took, or the victory that the Muslims got at the end, that is getting Jerusalem back, but we look at the way he actually handled the entire process after the victory, and that is how he treated the people, and the people that remained, instead of revenging on his enemies, he was like, listen, um we okay. But so the lesson from the story is that real change often requires, first of all, unity, patience, and perseverance, right? And also principled leadership. You can't just get into things and just expect an outcome. You have to persevere, you have to have a strategy before you can actually get an outcome out of it.
Yes.
And so it reminds us as young Muslims that lasting progress, it really happens overnight. It really rarely happens overnight. You have to just take the measured steps to ensure that at the end of the day, um, Allah Ta'ala, you've taken the steps, now you leave it in the hands of Allah Ta'ala, and he sorts it out. Yeah.
It's so profound what you say, really, because we could continue this response, your response, for hours. Even just this one question can create such a long conversation, because from Islam and from history and things like that, there's so much that we learn that can help
Hmm.
us in our day-to-day life.
No, totally.
Um just the Quran alone, it's an answer to everything.
Literally.
And then you take in a hadith, you take history, you take just so many things that come together, and it makes it almost a situation where you have to myself and think, I need to know because
Mm.
even with
Mm.
we're talking about the global state of the world from a politics perspective, but
Yeah.
you can't understand politics fully as a Muslim if you don't understand your deen.
Your deen. Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
And
And so
everything just links back. Everything always just
exactly,
links back. Like
exactly.
we have all the answers, just place it in, in this now era, you know?
Yes.
So yeah,
No,
it's
it's
amazing.
really important for you to look back and think about what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said about these things, what
Mm.
Allah says in the Quran, and you will so easily have your answer.
Yeah,
Without a doubt, you will have your answer.
literally.
But that is that that last note brings us to the end of our segment.
Oh,
But I think we ended on a
and a
very
very good note,
very, very
honestly.
good note.
Mm.
Alhamdulillah. I look at all of my questions that I have, but we're able to kind of answer these all through the other
Mm-hmm.
responses as well. And this is a conversation that I do not want to end. I say this very often, but this one, like, I truly mean it. I'm not just saying it for the sake of the show. That this conversation has so many different ways that it can go. Today, we look at it more from a Islamic perspective,
Mm-hmm.
but I would love to have more conversation with you on it from a more politics perspective, and
Mm.
looking at it from a South African's perspective as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Yeah.
And now I'm gonna sound like everyone else that told you that they also want to do international relations, but also me. Add me to
Welcome
that.
to the club.
um and so I cannot wait for us to continue having conversation and staying in contact,
Mm.
inshallah. I'm going to be bombarding your phone
You're
with messages.
welcome. You're
Thank you,
welcome.
thank you. But Jazakallah so much for joining me today, Nurulhudah.
Ameen.
I have absolutely enjoyed this conversation. It's been refreshing in a way that we needed it to be.
Mm.
That it's never a bad time to talk about politics. There's
Absolutely.
so much to say, really, and inshallah
Mm.
we continue this conversation. So
Ameen, ya Rab, ameen.
that has been the Ummah Now with myself, Ummah Now, and my amazing guest,
Shukran.
Nurulhudah. We're going to go for a short ad break, and then we will be back for the people's favorite segment, which is the Khair Check. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.